Hey, what's up? Sean here. Now, I'm assuming since you're watching this video, you're in a bit of a pickle and you're trying to raise your credit score as fast as possible. Or maybe you're just not sure how to go about doing this. Well, let's dive right in. Fun fact, as of today, the average American has a FICO credit score of 673. Not bad. But wait, what's a FICO? Well, FICO, otherwise known as Fair Isaac Corporation, is essentially an average between the three main credit bureaus, which are TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So coming back to that 673 average American FICO score, is that a good credit score? Well, it's not bad considering the scale goes all the way down to 300 and goes as up as high as 850. Now, the goal is to obviously be in the 800s, but it's not that easy. And that's another thing I want to get into. Now, I could go over exactly what gets factored into your credit score and what determines it, but that's for another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the fastest way to actually raise that sucker. So here's 7 tips onto how to raise your credit score relatively quickly. Now, tip number 1 is you're gonna need to just clean the sucker up. You need to get rid of collections, you need to get rid of foreclosures, bankruptcies, pretty much anything that's holding your credit down, you need to get rid of those. And believe me, I get it. I know it's not easy to get rid of those things off your credit, whether you have to pay for them, call, figure it all out. I know that can be a mess, so no worries. We're just gonna move right into tip number 2, which is my favorite and is what I use to raise my credit score, and it's essentially credit utilization. You only want to be keeping your credit utilization at about 30%. So what does that mean? If you've got a $1,000 a month credit card, you only want to be spending about $300 a month on that card. This basically shows the credit bureaus that you're responsible and you're able to spend this much, but hey, you're a savvy person, so you're only going to be spending 30% of what you actually can be spending. This will raise your credit score tremendously. It's really that simple. But third tip that you're going to want to actually do, which is actually incredibly ingenious, is to actually pay down your credit twice a month. Credit bureaus actually only check in on you once a month. So if you're actually paying twice a month, then your utilization is actually lower and it looks like you're actually not spending as much as the credit bureaus think you are. Another pretty simple technique to raising your credit, and I know sometimes you're in a bit of a jam and it's really hard to actually pay down some of your credit. I totally get it. Everyone's finances are different, but if you're able to do that and you're in a position to actually pay down your credit twice a month, your credit score is going to be boosting way quicker than you think. Which brings me to my next point. If you're really struggling and you really need to be spending this money that your cards actually allow you to spend, then my next tip is actually increase your spending limit. If your credit card company allows you to, or if you qualify for it, you're going to want to increase that limit, because let's say we had that $1,000 a month credit card and we can only be spending $300, but we really need to be spending $500 to $600 based on our monthly expenses, right? Well, let's say your credit expense limit is all the way up to $2,500 a month. If you use 30% of $2,500, you're able to spend way more that month. So basically what the credit bureaus are seeing is that your credit utilization is still at about 30%, but instead of only spending $300 a month, you're able to spend up to $750 a month, and basically nothing has changed besides the limit on your credit. So if you qualify for that, I highly recommend trying to raise the amount of credit you're allowed each month. Which brings me into my next point. All of these snowball and feed off each other. If you can't raise your credit limit, get another card. Now, I do want to forewarn you here. Here's my caution, disclaimer, everything you want to say. Do not open up like 10 credit cards. You don't want to have tons of credit cards in your wallet, because then that shows that you're not very responsible and you want to just go spend a bunch of money. But you should have more than one line of credit. So if you've got 2 to 3 lines of credit and maybe they're all just $1,000 a month, you basically have a $3,000 a month limit, where again, you only want to be spending 30% of that, but you've got multiple lines of credit to disperse that evenly. Again, disclaimer, please do not go out there and apply for 10 different credit cards and have that be a major hit to your credit, because everything's getting ran and everything's just a giant mess. You only need 2 to 3 lines of credit to keep that utilization low and to keep your scores very high. Now, my next tip is an interesting one and is a little bit confusing to most people, but you want to negotiate your outstanding balances with creditors. So let's say you owe $5,000 to some creditor and they want that full $5,000 and maybe even some interest on it and all this other stuff, and you're like drowning in debt. You're like, I can't even afford this. You need to negotiate the balance with them. They would much rather accept $2,000 instead of nothing. So negotiate how much you're going to actually be paying back with them for it to get off your credit. And believe me, creditors will negotiate how much money you're actually going to be paying them to take that off your credit. Because again, $2,000 is a whole lot better than $0. Now, I will give you a caution with this one. Make sure you get everything in writing. Always want a paper trail with this one, because if they say something over the phone and doesn't end up happening, you have no proof and you end up getting screwed. And my last tip, which is probably the easiest one you can actually do, which requires very little work, is to just find someone very close, like a family relative or maybe just a close friend who has really great credit, and see if they'll let you become an authorized user on their card or on their account. Because if they already have great credit, you don't even have to spend any money on this credit card. You're just become an authorized user on it. They keep their utilization low, they keep their spending habits the exact same, you basically just don't even do anything, but your credit score is being improved from that single account, which you're literally doing nothing on. It's basically like you're stealing someone else's homework. It's the best thing ever. You don't have to do any work. The problem is finding someone who trusts you enough to add you as an authorized user. But those are my quick and dirty 7 tips for raising your credit score as quickly as possible. There's really no other way to raise it effectively as those tips. Hopefully you learned something new. I will see you in the next video.